As he pondered whether they were already facing the boss monster, our boy recalled the characteristics of the Forest of Ghosts boss, a psychic attack with the power to read and manipulate an opponent's memories. Armed with this knowledge, Solia and our boy braced themselves to face the boss's attack head-on. Adele shouted that the boss was moving and asked if they were ready. Both responded with a determined yes, while our boy, thinking back, realized they had unintentionally withstood a similar attack before. The boss swung its scythe, and the attack struck our boy directly. In that moment, he grasped the reality of facing a boss monster. Wow, he thought, this thing is faster than I gave it credit for. He told himself to stay calm, reminding himself that it wasn't a physical attack. No need to panic. As long as they could ignore the voices they were hearing and cling to their fading consciousness, they'd be fine. But suddenly, he found himself in a strange place. Where am I? He wondered. He realized he was experiencing a bizarre sensation. No sensory perception, just floating in a space filled with darkness, a world of nothingness. Oh, great, our boy muttered to himself. This must be the infamous psychic attack, the Void Room, courtesy of our cute Basil. He looked around and sensed something was off in the darkness. He knew that while a B-rank dungeon was no walk in the park, the boss monster shouldn't be strong enough to pull off a trick like this. As he wandered through the void, trying to piece things together, he suddenly heard someone shouting, "You killed it, you bastard!" Startled, he turned around and heard a familiar voice apologizing. Another voice, angrier, snapped back, "If you thought you couldn't handle it, you should have bailed out sooner. Why pretend you could?" Horrified, our boy recognized the scene playing out before him. He was witnessing one of his own memories. He looked at his past self and thought, wow, some things never change. Still as awful as ever. He recalled a conversation from his past life between a female doctor and her colleague. The lady asked if he was the bastard who backstabbed his senior in the upper ranks, while the male doctor cautioned her not to mess with him, calling him a real psycho in the intern world. They had no idea he was overhearing them gossiping behind his back. Not that he regretted a thing. He knew he had done what was necessary. The person he reported, dubbed a doctor, was actually a psychopath, notorious for abusive medical practices that had cost innocent lives. So, he blew the whistle on the doctor's atrocities to professors, undergraduates, and university hospitals. Unfortunately, that doctor was well connected, with ties that ran deeper than just professors, undergraduates, and university hospitals. However, that doctor was well connected and far above him in seniority. And what followed was as predictable as hospital food being bland. The medical field is surprisingly tight-knit, so no matter where he went for training, everyone avoided him like he had a contagious disease, labeling him the whistleblower. Despite his reputation as a genius, all he got in return were criticism and insults for ruining the career of a senior who was, apparently, beloved by everyone for reasons he still couldn't fathom. All over what they considered trivial matters. This went on until one day, during an especially tough shift, a coworker noticed his hand shaking and asked, "Hey, what's up with you? We've got to head into the operating room." All he could muster was, "I don't know," as he stared at his hands, trembling like a leaf in the wind, unable to stop them no matter how hard he tried. When the head of the hospital caught wind of it, he was furious. "Do we have a vet with the shakes doing surgeries here?" he shouted. "Get him out of the operating room now!" Later, when he consulted a psychiatrist, the doctor calmly explained that his repressed emotions were showing up as hand tremors whenever he entered the operating room. "Oh, neat," he replied. "I guess that makes sense." The psychiatrist added that this wasn't something that could be fixed overnight and would need ongoing therapy. Great, just what he needed. Another thing that would take time to fix. He couldn't help but wonder how he ended up like this, and what on earth had kept him going all the way to his internship. He was drowning in darkness and hopelessness when a particularly tactless hospital staff member asked him, "What possessed you to go for clinical practice, huh? You're just a trembling hands bastard now. Sure, you were top of your class as an undergrad, but now look at you. Useless." With every judgmental glare and harsh word, His mental strength crumbled. Eventually, the weight of it all became too much, and he left the hospital on his own. That surprisingly weak and frail version of himself was then reincarnated as our boy at Seoul Academy. He had thought enough time had passed, but now he realized that maybe he hadn't changed at all. Just then he noticed a light above him, and to his utter disbelief, our cute Basil appeared within it. Wait, what? How did our cute Basil manage to break into someone else's mental space, especially in this endless void created by the boss monster's psychic attack spell? As our cute Basil flew closer, it locked eyes with him, as if to remind him of the contract they had made. Our boy suddenly had a light bulb moment. Taming was a magic that linked the hearts of the mage and the monster. He realized that our cute Basil had sensed his negative emotions and anxieties about the past, which is why it had come to find him. With a half smile, he asked, "What kind of dragon gets so emotional? You're like a loyal dog." But instead of responding, our cute Basil simply hugged him. Our boy now understood that his choice back then wasn't just because he disliked his senior, who strutted around like a big shot, nor was it some act of youthful rebellion. It was because he couldn't ignore his faint sense of justice, his desire to save lives, and his refusal to be defeated by corruption. Grateful for our cute Basil's presence, he said, "All right, buddy, let's get out of this void. Thanks for knocking some sense into me." Suddenly, our cute Basil started pointing frantically to the side, catching our boy's attention. "What is it? Is there something over there?" he asked, looking in the direction our cute Basil indicated, wondering what all the fuss was about. To his shock, he saw a heart floating in the darkness. "Is that a hidden item?" he wondered aloud, realizing that since they were inside the monster, things that were invisible from the outside were now visible. According to his memory, this had to be the hidden item known as the Ghost Lantern, the core of the boss, its heart. Gathering power in his palm, our boy knew that if they could just extract the heart quickly, they could defeat the boss. Our boy shouted to our cute Basil, "Hey buddy, how about lending me your strength again?" 3 massive magic arrows formed around them, and our cute Basil unleashed its fiery breath, infusing the arrows with extra power. Our boy then launched all 3 arrows simultaneously at the boss's heart, the flames boosting their force. The arrows struck true, piercing and scorching the heart at the same time. The boss let out a terrifying scream of pain as the ghost lantern, the core of its power, floated free right in front of our boy. Grabbing the lantern, he yelled, "All right, pal, your outdated horror show is over." With a satisfied grin, our boy gazed at the ghost lantern, knowing they had successfully taken down the boss. Adele ran up, shouting excitedly, "You finally made it out," saying that she also mentioned that Solia had come out a while ago, but since our boy had been inside the monster for so long, everyone was starting to get worried. Someone equally concerned asked if our boy had really managed to defeat the boss. In response, our boy waved them over and showed them the system message confirming he had cleared the B-rank dungeon, Ghost Forest. One of them shouted in excitement, "That's incredible! You really did it!" Solia, noticing the lantern in our boy's hand, asked, "Is that the hidden item?" She added, "I can't believe it actually exists. This is amazing." One of the others chimed in, admitting, "Honestly, I thought our boy was bluffing. I mean, the chances of finding a hidden item in a dungeon are practically 0. I figured we were just playing it safe with this dungeon." Our boy nodded. "Yeah, that was a pretty reasonable assumption." But then, Solia's expression grew serious. She asked, "Isn't there something strange about all this? We both thought we could handle the boss's mental attack, but it wasn't that easy. We both ended up in the void room." Another voice, shocked, asked, "Wait, there was a high-level mental spell like that in a B-grade dungeon?" Adele joined in, frowning. "Now that you mention it, Solia, there were a lot of things that didn't add up. Even the hidden item's power level is way beyond normal. Dozens, maybe even hundreds of times stronger." Our boy's eyes narrowed as he realized it wasn't just his gut feeling. Something was definitely off. He quickly asked, "Where are Heel and Usher?" That question jolted everyone, who had somehow forgotten about them. One of the group, now panicking, shouted, "They were just here a moment ago. Where could they have gone?" Before they could start searching, Figures in black robes emerged from the shadows, taking everyone by surprise. They quickly noticed that Heel and Usher were being held captive by these robed figures. Parker, flanked by his team, smirked as he stepped forward. If those pesky theology students hadn't insisted on protecting your group, I would have knocked you all out quietly. But they just had to get in my way, he continued. Look, the theology students might act all buddy-buddy with the magic students now, but we all know that's not who they really are. Parker then issued an ultimatum. Hand over those two in the back, he said, clearly referring to Heel and Usher, and join us or else. Our boy's mind raced. Is this really how things are going to unfold? He wondered, realizing Parker was truly off his rocker. Parker continued, if you and your group join us now, our boy, this project will be a guaranteed success. The preparations are nearly complete. We just need to meet the final conditions. Our boy, sensing something was seriously off, asked, what are you planning, Parker? Parker grinned. We need your help. Ever since we switched our focus to the magic kids, we're facing a serious manpower shortage. Then he dropped a bombshell. The demon summoning, that was our project from the start. The group was stunned. Adele, horrified, exclaimed, wait, are you seriously preparing such dark magic within the academy? Is the necromancy department really doing this? She remembered that our boy had been with Parker's group up until his first year, and worried he might have been involved with necromancers, even after switching to the magic department. The thought sent shivers down her spine. Was the dark mage our boy had expelled from the baobab tree just part of a strategy to lower their guard? Adele glanced at our boy, hoping her suspicions were wrong. But then she overheard his conversation with Parker. Our boy, with a nonchalant tone, said, the conditions are pretty strict, but not impossible. Maybe I'll help out. Parker, clearly pleased, responded, I knew I could count on you, our boy. Still on our side, huh? Our boy then casually listed the items needed for the ritual. Pig's blood, straw, ogre scales, demon tree roots, and a suitable medium. Parker nodded. Got all of them. Just came to get the medium now. Adele, now even more worried, struggled to make sense of how easily this conversation was flowing. What is this medium they're talking about? She wondered. Noticing Adele's confusion, Parker smirked and said, don't strain yourself, Adele. This is probably beyond you. Just some trivial magic. Parker then revealed the final twist. The essential component for demon summoning was a strong human capable of hosting the demon. Did you think I strengthened the boss monster's power in the dungeon just for kicks? He taunted. No. The ritual needs a powerful mage, preferably one of holy lineage, as the medium. Parker laughed and praised our boy for his choice of team, saying, you picked the perfect group to serve as the medium. You're still so easy to work with, our boy. Our boy extended his hand to shake Parker's, smiling as he suggested, maybe it's time we get back to working together. But the moment Parker grabbed his hand, our boy's expression changed. He tightened his grip and activated his zap skill, sending a jolt of electricity through Parker and crashing him to the ground in a state of shock. Parker screamed in pain, demanding of what he was doing. Calmly, our boy replied, did you really think we could work together after all this? He smirked and continued, I nearly got caught up in your little plan, but you overlooked a few things. First, you trusted me way too much. Second, you seriously underestimated me. As he spoke, our boy pulled out the wand hidden under his coat, the one that delivered the shocking zap. Parker struggled to his feet, seething. Do you dare deceive me? He snarled, dark energy crackling around him. You think just because you've been reassigned to the magic department, you can turn your back on us completely? Parker raised his wand and hurled a powerful spell at our boy. I'll use you as a sacrifice too, he shouted, his voice dripping with fury. Our boy barely dodged the attack, wondering how Parker's magic was so fast. Just then, Adele rushed over. Are you okay? She asked, her voice tight with concern. He nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. She breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. I was so worried you'd gotten mixed up in dark magic again. If it had been true, she added, trying to sound stern, but her voice betraying her relief, I would have killed you myself. Our boy chuckled nervously. Good to know you care, he said, wondering if he should feel flattered or terrified. Adele glanced back at Parker. Looks like that lightning zap didn't take him down. That was a pretty strong attack. Yeah, our boy agreed, strong enough to knock out a regular person. But Parker isn't just any regular person. He's not the main villain for nothing. Seymour Parker is the kind of guy who's destined to grow into a major threat, on par with Lee Ham. Realizing he needed to get serious, he turned to Adele. I've got a favor to ask. Can you hold off the necromancers who came for Solia and me? Parker's clearly targeting me, and those crazy eyes are dead set on finishing me off. Adele nodded. Got it. Just then, Parker launched another spell, an arrow of dark energy, directly at our boy. He barely managed to conjure a shield in time to block it, but Parker's next attack was even more powerful, shattering the shield to pieces. Damn it, our boy muttered, feeling the frustration boil up inside him. Why is Parker so strong already? He hasn't even fully grown into his power. He knew Parker wasn't here to play around with side characters like him. Parker was here to win, no matter the cost. Parker launched another attack and sneered, What's the matter? Lost in thought? The dark energy arrow knocked our boy's wand out of his hand, sending it skittering across the ground. Before he could retrieve it, Parker grabbed him by the neck, lifting him off the ground effortlessly. You should think carefully about your current position, Parker warned, his grip tightening. You know too much about our plan, and you're becoming too famous for your own good. Wouldn't it be smart of us to eliminate you now before you become a real problem? Our boy knew Parker wasn't an easy opponent. But there was always a chance, a little wild card he could play. Maybe, just maybe, his cute Basil could help. Suddenly, out of nowhere, our cute Basil, the trusty Basilisk, struck. It swooped in and blasted Parker from behind with a burst of flames. Parker yelled out in shock, dropping our boy as he turned to see what had hit him. The flames licked at Parker's clothes, catching him by surprise. Nice one, cute Basil, our boy shouted, feeling a rush of gratitude. As he scrambled to his feet, a system notification pinged in his vision. Basilisk Atroces has reached level 10 and acquired the skill Maya Spike, a move that summoned a pillar of fire and lightning to strike all creatures within a meter, sparing only the user. He blinked. Cute Basil leveled up? Now? Seriously? But hey, he wasn't about to question good fortune. Leaning close to cute Basil, he whispered with excitement, Perfect timing! Let's show them what you can do. Maya Spike now! Cute Basil obeyed, unleashing a dazzling combination of fire and lightning spikes that shot out in all directions. One of the bystanders yelled, Are you out of your mind, our boy? If Solia hadn't thrown up that shield, we'd all be crispy critters right now. Our boy, panting and worn out, finally collapsed to the ground, sweat pouring down his face. Yeah, he muttered to himself, staring up at the sky. This is definitely a big problem. Our boy hadn't anticipated just how draining the spell would be, and letting our cute Basil go on a rampage was a recipe for disaster. Plus, he knew he couldn't control Basil's power once it got excited. Just then, Parker emerged from the flames, muttering to himself, So this is what it means to call yourself a Tamer. He sneered at our boy, saying he wouldn't fall for such shallow tricks. Our boy was astonished that Parker had tanked that hit. As Parker approached, wand aimed threateningly, he declared, Even if I die, I'll make sure to beat you senseless, you traitorous bastard. He's frozen in horror, watching as Parker's wand gathers power for a finishing blow. Just as he's sure he's done for, someone suddenly smacks Parker on the head, knocking him out cold right in front of him. Staring down at Parker's crumpled form, he looks up in bewilderment to see a robed lady holding a shovel, the very one she used to take Parker down. He quickly realizes she must be another necromancer student. But why would she attack Parker, who was on her side? She then chirps, relieved, Glad I wasn't too late. Good thing I brought my granddad's trusty protective shovel. She pulls back her hood, revealing her face, and asks if he's all right. As he catches a glimpse of her, he's momentarily captivated, but exhaustion from the dungeon takes over, and he starts to lose consciousness. Completely drained, he passes out, and the rest of the situation is resolved in a blur. In the aftermath, the Necromancy and Dark Magic Club is temporarily suspended, while Heel, Usher, and the rest of the team are given time for treatment and recovery. As expected, their team's project results are outstanding. They receive a perfect score, 100 out of 100. The only team in Professor Grin's class to achieve such a feat. Adele shouts in disbelief, "We're the only team to get a perfect score!" Meanwhile, our boy is on the verge of tears, not at all intending to stand out this much. Meanwhile, our boy overheard his classmates whispering excitedly about the hidden item they had found. They were praising their determination and speculating that our boy was the irresistible man who even outshone Li Han. Curious about the buzz, our boy wondered what all these rumors were about. After those hectic days, our boy now found himself in the underground prison of the academy. As he approached the cell, the man inside stepped closer and remarked, "I heard someone was coming to visit, so I came out to take a look." Recognizing our boy, Parker's face twisted with fury. "Why are you here?" he demanded. "Come to see me cry my eyes out in prison?" Our boy remained calm, telling Parker to settle down and reassuring him that he'd be walking out of there just fine. This only fueled Parker's anger further. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Parker snapped. Our boy then asked Parker if it was true that he was a noble, and if his father would really sit idly by while his son was locked up. He suggested that after this incident, Parker might be disowned by his family, and his father might just leave him in prison. Parker gripped the cell gate tightly, fuming. "Are you done talking? What are you even doing here?" he demanded. Our boy handed Parker a small envelope and told him to take it. When Parker asked what it was, our boy simply turned to leave, mentioning that his father would come to get him out soon, since the family's reputation was at stake. He added that Parker's family was known for ruthlessly casting out anyone who brought shame to their honor, implying that Parker might end up the same way. Parker opened the envelope, his glare of anger sharpening. Our boy winked, thinking to himself that Parker was still just a kid. It seemed Parker wasn't afraid of dark magic, but he was terrified of being disowned by his family. When Parker read the letter inside, his shock was palpable. Our boy asked if he was really that clueless, and explained that if Parker ever found himself in a situation like this, he should send that letter. The letter claimed that a dark magic organization was blackmailing him. Of course, it was all fabricated, but our boy had made sure it looked convincing enough. Our boy had included the dark magic symbols so meticulously that it looked almost flawless. Parker, still stunned, confirmed that it looked real enough to be convincing. Our boy then told Parker that with this letter, the story of the unfortunate necromancy student forced into demonic summoning would come to an end. He asked Parker if this would make it easier for his family to handle. Parker, bewildered, asked why our boy was giving him this letter, and where he had even gotten it. Our boy just smiled and said, "Who else could it be?" hinting that it was someone at the academy who went out of their way to help. A moment later, our boy was sitting with Ernest and the robed lady. Ernest asked if he had delivered the letter properly. Confidently, our boy replied yes, grabbing his tea from the table, and thanked Ernest for his help. After our boy had woken up, Dean Ernest had called him in separately and awarded him an unprecedented prize. Ernest, unlike before, said he would grant our boy anything he wanted. So, our boy asked Ernest to help him release Parker from his predicament. Ernest admitted he was momentarily surprised by this request, given Parker's role as the leader of the Dark Magic Club and his involvement in the incident. It wasn't something that could be resolved with just a simple disciplinary action. However, Ernest noted that our boy must have seen something in Parker that others did not. Our boy explained that Parker was the type of person who became stronger when driven by revenge. If they expelled him with just a disciplinary action, Parker might harbor resentment and spiral into a darker path, using his demonic talents for more sinister purposes. But if the dean showed leniency and handled Parker appropriately, the Dark Magic Club would naturally disband, and Parker's exceptional talents could be redirected positively. Truthfully, our boy was just being cautious in case Parker sought revenge later. Yet, Ernest smiled and remarked that it seemed our boy had the qualities of a teacher as well. The lady then introduced herself as Natalie, the one who saved him from being killed by Parker. Our boy remembered that in the original work, Natalie was portrayed as a bright and lovable student, adored by everyone at the school. Just before our boy passed out, she had appeared out of nowhere with a shovel among the necromancy students, which had been a real shock for him. Curious, he asked her about her true identity. Natalie realized she hadn't properly explained her role before, and revealed that she was, in fact, an observer assigned by the dean to keep an eye on the Dark Magic Club. This made our boy realize she was a spy, and that the study of dark magic within the necromancy department had likely been overlooked. Ernest then explained that having a legitimate space for researching dark magic is crucial to prevent students from mishandling it out of curiosity. Natalie continued, saying that at the time, she really thought her heart would stop. The demon summoning plan was a top secret matter, shared only among a few students, all centered around Parker. If our boy hadn't helped her, she wouldn't have been able to fulfill her role, and the students in the magic department wouldn't have come out unscathed either. She then sweetly thanked him once again, making him blush. He replied modestly that he only did it to save himself. Ernest, sensing an opportunity, told our boy he had a proposal for him, giving him an ominous feeling. Ernest then excitedly announced that the International Magic Research Society wanted him to represent Ardell Academy. This shocked our boy, even though he had anticipated some sort of recognition. He responded in disbelief, saying he couldn't believe he was chosen as the Academy's representative, and suggested that the top-performing students should be sent instead, thinking he'd rather avoid more troublesome tasks and back out. Ernest acknowledged that he had considered that too, but there was testimony that our boy had made the greatest contribution in the recent magic practice class. Additionally, Professor Grin had awarded our boy extra points, which left him puzzled. How could Grin add extra points on top of a perfect score? Ernest then informed him that he was currently ranked third in the magic department, with Lehan in first place and Adele in second. Our boy was stunned, while Natalie clapped for him. Later, back in his room, our boy remained in shock, even as our cute Basil playfully bit his head. He snapped, screaming, causing our cute Basil to look at him in confusion and wonder if its master had finally gone mad. The Basilisk shook its head to say no, while our boy punched the wall, shouting that he had enough troublesome tasks already. With his ranking going up, he was attracting even more attention. Frustrated, he yelled at the second-year students, demanding to know why they weren't studying. One student noticed the wall crack and asked if it was the chaos of the upcoming competition getting to him. He replied that he hadn't even aimed for third place, and grumbled about how annoying things kept happening. One student teasingly told him that he was unlucky, adding that Solia, who had always held the third place, would be upset to hear him say that. Our boy glared at the student, making them quickly swear they wouldn't tell Solia. To change the subject, the student suggested they open the dungeon's personal reward to lift his mood. Recalling that he hadn't had a chance to open the rewards yet, due to his busy schedule, our boy walked over to the chest. He remembered that these rewards, besides the hidden items, were personal treasures given for clearing the dungeon. He hoped for some enjoyment from the random gacha in that desolate wasteland. As he opened the treasure chest, he wondered what he'd get after all the trouble, and hoped for a top-tier item. When he looked inside, his mouth dropped open in shock. It was an egg. The system identified it as a Tira's egg, an A-rank item guaranteed to hatch into the legendary creature Tira with a 100% probability. He realized that if it was Tira, it meant another reptile, and he screamed in defeat. One student, laughing uncontrollably, shouted that he must truly be a chosen tamer from the heavens, prompting our boy to angrily shout at them to shut up. Later, it was time for the Magic Research Conference held in the Sainan Empire. The grand event, lasting 3 days, featured lectures and various exhibitions from the Mage Association. It was a hub of intellectual exchange and harmony, where talented magicians from around the world gathered to share their knowledge. The school-based competitions were particularly intense, with the honor of both the country and the school on the line. In the carriage on the way to the conference, our boy felt dizzy, already overwhelmed and loathing the experience. Adele, noticing his distress, reminded him that the second-year topic was herbalism and asked if he knew anything about it. He blankly responded, "What is herbalism?" Adele, concerned, told him it was a big deal and reminded him that when Dean Ernest had seen them off that morning, he had seriously mentioned that while participating as a learning experience was good, bringing back some awards would be even better. Her words left him even more dazed and blank-faced. Lee Han then chimed in, telling him that if he got the hang of the mixing methods, he should manage. Lee Han offered him a book and suggested they study until they arrived. Accepting the book, our boy prepared himself, acknowledging that this level of diligence was expected from a model student like Lee Han. Meanwhile, Adele walked away to get some drinks. Frustrated, our boy muttered about Adele running off alone. Just then, Lee Han called him back and shyly reminded him about the other day when one and he visited his room, specifically about the map he had shown them. This jogged our boy's memory about how he had accidentally taken a dark mage's loot from the baobab tree, and how Lee Han had happened to see it when he came over. It was a coincidence that left him feeling uneasy. Lee Han then asked if our boy had the map with him today. Our boy replied that he did, explaining that it might be risky to leave it in the dorm. He recalled that when Lee Han first saw the map by chance, his face had turned pale. Our boy understood why. The map was connected to the cube. Our boy knew the significance of the cube. Despite the Ardal Empire's overwhelming number of white mages, dark mages could still cause significant trouble and upheaval at Soul Academy. This was the same reason he had chosen to endure this annoying event, instead of pretending to be sick and staying away. The dark mages were notorious for gathering ancient artifacts known as cubes, scattered around the world, which they used to manipulate situations to their advantage. The cube is an enormous magical amplifier, created by concentrating dark magic, transforming even a minor mage into a grand mage. That's the kind of perilous item the cube is, as described in the original novel. Our boy recalled that in the novel, dark mages had secretly constructed a massive tower to collect all the cubes. Their grand plan was to use the tower as an amplifier, channeling nearly unlimited magic through the cubes to wreak havoc on the world. Thankfully, the main characters in the story managed to destroy the tower and secure the cubes before things got too out of hand. Still, their victory came at a tragic cost, with several main and supporting characters dying in the process, earning the novel its reputation for bleakness. The first appearance of the cube was in the Seinen Empire. Once they arrived, they headed straight for the research conference hall, diving into classes and various activities, including herbalism. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of busy engagements. On the eve of the competition, our boy lay in his room, stretching and thinking about the upcoming event. Ernest had suggested that winning a few awards would be great, but since our boy wasn't well versed in herbalism, he decided to just see how things played out. For now, he planned to get some rest. Just as he was about to close his eyes, he heard a noise at his window and asked who was there. Lee Han, laughing, remarked on how impressive it was that our boy figured it out. Annoyed, our boy replied that, with all the commotion, it was hard not to know. He opened the window, letting Lee Han in, and questioned why he didn't just use the door. Lee Han apologized, explaining that he had intended to be quiet, but someone was in the hallway. Our boy inquired about the person in the hallway, and Lee Han mentioned that someone had let Casper loose. This surprised our boy since Casper was a scout mage known for his invisibility cloak. He wondered why such a person was here, as it didn't seem like something a regular conference attendee would do. Lee Han admitted he didn't know the full details, but added that he wasn't just there to talk about Casper. He was there to ask for a favor. Lee Han then asked if our boy would hand over the map he had. Before Lee Han could explain further, our boy cut him off, asking if it was related to the cube. Lee Han, taken aback, asks if our boy knows about the cube. Our boy decides to feign ignorance for now, simply replying that the map does mention a cube. Inside, he muses that Li Han must have always been aware of the cube's true significance. Long ago, Li Han's parents had managed to seal the cube's power, but lost their lives to dark mages who tried to thwart them. The moment Li Han saw the map, he must have realized that dark mages were on the move again. Li Han likely understood the immense impact the cube's power could have on the world. As a result, Li Han, the protagonist of the novel, must have resolved to carry on his parents' mission by finding and protecting the cubes. Li Han then reveals that tomorrow is the final day of the conference and insists that the map indicates the cube is buried nearby. He urges our boy to hand over the map. To Li Han's surprise, our boy refuses, reassuring him that he trusts him but cannot part with the map, knowing that the dark mages are destined to take the first cube. Our boy vividly recalls how much Li Han regretted that moment in the novel, his anguished cries echoing beyond the pages. Realizing that losing the cube now would exponentially increase the story's difficulty, our boy decides to handle it his way. He tells Li Han that while he won't give up the map, he is willing to accompany him and insists they search together. Li Han protests, explaining that while he can't go into detail, the cube is a dangerous item, and he doesn't want to recklessly involve our boy. Our boy counters that he's never shied away from a challenge. He admits he doesn't fully understand the cube or Li Han's quest, but promises not to be a hindrance. He reminds Li Han that the map belongs to him, meaning he has no choice but to come along. Li Han is momentarily stunned but eventually agrees. Our boy smiles triumphantly, only for Li Han to add that they need to remember to win the competition tomorrow, leaving our boy puzzled. Li Han then notes that after the competition, there's something important they need to address. So this is the end of the video. Always stay tuned. Also, you might comment down below because your opinion is valid. See you in the next chapter, and Sukren to all of you.